Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So this brings us to the last part of the series. We have talked about the prophecy in Surah Al-Rum. We've seen how it came true. And we've also looked at the variant reading, which we concluded was not authentic. And even if it was authentic, it still came true. Now we're going to look at how Christians like Shamoun use double standards and hyper-skepticism when it comes to the Quran, but will not apply these same standards to their own Bible. So they're very inconsistent and very hypocritical in terms of their polemics. They would never ever use the same standards that they use with the Quran with the Bible. So look at what Shamoun says. He's amazed that a prophecy from God would not specify the exact time for some reason. God has to say exactly when it's going to happen. He has to say it will happen at 3 o'clock on a Monday, August 27th, in such and such year. Of course, this is just Shamoun making up his own standards, which again he would never apply to his own Bible. And so now we're going to look at how this falls apart, how Shamoun shoots himself in the foot with this absurd standard, which actually, if we're reasonable, should be applied to his Bible, not just the Quran. But as we've seen, the Quran was correct in making the prophecy. This is the reality. All right, so we've seen double standards by Christians in regards to the prophecies in the Quran and the prophecies in the Bible. With regard to the prophecy in the Quran, it came true, period. It does not matter if it did not come true according to Shamoun's standards. At the time of the revelation of this verse, the Persians were in full control. They were winning battle after battle. Damascus had fallen, Jerusalem had fallen, eventually Egypt had fallen. It was looking really bad for the Byzantines. Right? And by 626, the Persians even laid siege to Constantinople. And if Constantinople had fallen, that would have been the end of the Byzantine Empire. And that didn't happen. That happened in 800 years later, when the Ottoman Turks, under Mehmed II, conquered Constantinople. That was the end of the Byzantine Empire. So they came close. So for the Quran to state it in the context right after the victories, the Persian victories in Syria, to say that within a few years the Byzantines would be victorious was a remarkable statement to make. It was a remarkable claim. This is why the pagans of Mecca were mocking the Muslims for that. Said, how can you say that? And that's exactly what happened. But now let's apply Shamoun's standards to his Bible and to his God. We already have seen his standards crumble when applied to the Quran. The Quran was still correct. The prophecy was fulfilled. Now let's look at a false prophecy in Shamoun's Bible and show how his God could not provide not only a precise time, but he was off by thousands of years. And I'm talking about Revelation 22:20. This is one of the few things that the Bible, the New Testament, is really consistent about. There are a lot of contradictions among the Gospels and different books about different matters, but in terms of the second coming, the return of Jesus, they're all actually remarkably consistent. That he was coming soon. He was coming within the lifetimes of the early Christians. And this is what it says in Revelation 22:20. He who testifies to these things says, yes, I am coming soon. All right, and this the same phrase coming soon is used in Revelation 2:16, 3:11, 11:14, 22:7, and 22:12. The same word is used in the Greek. And what word is that? That word is taku. Right? And this word means quickly, speedily, without delay. That is the meaning of this verse. It can also mean by surprise or suddenly, but still in that same sense, it means suddenly in sense of it's going to be very quick. You wouldn't expect it, and it just happens. That's what it means. Right? This is the word that is consistently used in Revelation for Jesus' return. It will happen shortly. It will happen without delay. It will happen soon. That's what the word means. Now, of course, the apologists are going to come up with lame excuses to try to figure this problem out. But then they still acknowledge that it's not completely fool safe. That's not it's not a conclusive argument. So, for example, G.K. Beale states in his book, The Book of Revelation, a commentary on the Greek text, a possibly simple and legitimate solution to this problem is that Taku in 22:12, as well as in 22:20, and possibly 22:7, suggests the suddenness of Christ's last appearing whenever it occurs, not definite imminence. Right? The word Taku can also mean suddenness and by surprise, but he just twists the text to say, well, it doesn't mean appearing whenever, appearing soon. It just means suddenly appearing whenever it actually occurs. This is an absurd explanation and is dishonest. The reality is, if we look at the other verses, remember the word taku is also used in Revelation 3:11. Beale only looked at Revelation 22. So when we look at the word being used in 3:11, it's referring to the Church of Philadelphia. It's giving an assurance to the Church of Philadelphia that Jesus is coming soon, and it's used in an eschatological way to reassure them, the followers of the church in Philadelphia, to hold on for Jesus' return. So as Robert Mounce states, the coming to Philadelphia, however, is eschatological. It will end their time of trial and establish them as permanent citizens of the eternal kingdom. Verse 11 presupposes the continuance of the church until the second advent. The promise is not that Christ's coming will take place quickly whenever it happens, but that it will take place without delay. It is to be taken in the sense of 1:1, what must soon take place. Since the end is not far off, they are told to hold on to what they have. So this only leads to one inevitable conclusion. You cannot deny this. You cannot avoid this, Christians. Jesus was supposed to return within a very short amount of time, in fact, within the lifetimes of the author of Revelation and his readers, not thousands of years later and counting. And it hasn't happened yet. There's no way you can say that Jesus said, I am coming soon, and what he really meant was that he's not coming anytime soon. If he really meant that he was going to come 2,000 years later, he should have used a different word. He should not have used the word taku. If Shamoun's God had intended to come much later, he should have used the Greek word bradus, and it's the exact opposite of taxus. All right? It means slow. By the way, we use these Greek words in English. The prefixes tacky and brady are used in English. So those of you who have studied medicine or biology have probably heard the terms tachycardia and bradycardia. All right, tachycardia refers to a rapid heart rate, whereas bradycardia refers to a slow heart rate, and these are considered abnormal, right? In terms of they're not normal heart rates. So we use the same words in English as well. So that's the word that Shamoun's God should have used. He was coming thousands of years later. There's no way you can say that coming soon meant coming 2,000 years later. So let's turn Shamoun's original statement around. It amazes us, as it should amaze Shamoun, that a prophecy from the Christian God would claim that he was coming soon, when what he really meant was coming no time soon. As a worst case scenario, not only was Shamoun's God incompetent, he was also a liar. And who is the father of all lies, according to the Gospel of John? It is Satan. What is going on here? Why was Shamoun's God so unbelievably incompetent, so far off? Didn't realize when he was actually going to come. And he hasn't come yet. We're almost 2,000 years later and counting, and nothing has happened. I wonder if this was supposed to be made into a movie, what it would look like, what a trailer would look like. So let's see that.